Oh my god, it's January.
Where's the time gone?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Welcome to YouTubers United, the official podcast. No, I don't know. We don't have an official thing. But we're recording to you from potentially the last day on Earth, January 20th. And Happy New Year. We took a month off, and I was in America. You were in England. It was a whole thing.
I don't know if you can hear this right now on my paper, but I'm scribbling down a certificate of officiality for us so that we can be the official podcast by and for growing YouTubers. So
It's true.
yeah, I'm going to sign my name real quick. I'll go ahead and forge your signature if that's cool. And,
Yeah.
All right, sweet.
I can't write anyway, so it doesn't matter.
So that's done. Congratulations, we're officially the podcast by and for growing YouTubers. Oh, I misspelled grow. Oh no. Anyway, it's good.
We're the official podcast for goring YouTubers.
So what's going on, man? Where did you go over the holidays? We actually haven't talked about this yet.
Okay, so my Christmas vacation, this is my first one like away from the family. I know that you've been, Europeizing for the last few years, so this isn't new to you. But it's my first time, being a grown-up married person away from the family, and went to the heart of darkness. I went to Indiana.
Dun dun dun.
I spent Christmas with the in-laws.
Did you see any factory jobs coming back while you were there?
Oh, yeah. They're just like, advertising them everywhere.
Raining factory jobs in Indiana. That's good to know. Good to know that the new... God, we're already into politics. Just spend 1 minute. Oh, God. So how was Indiana?
It was all right. I mean, for the transition to a president right now who doesn't believe in climate change, it was like above zero the entire time. And it's above zero now. It's raining right now, actually, outside in January in Canada. So, yeah.
For everyone listening who knows Fahrenheit, that he's saying that it was above 32 degrees, which I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like in Indiana, but I assume it's supposed to be cold.
Snow is generally expected. And you were in jolly old England. What'd you get up to?
Dude, I had an amazing time. I stayed with 2 different English families who were the most English families ever. So, like, the first family I stayed with, they brought me in their home. They gave me Yorkshire pudding. They gave me the traditional Christmas pudding with like the nasty fruit drenched in alcohol. They set it on fire and everything. It was so nice. And then I got a personal tour of London twice. And on the second day, I went into Westminster and stood at the dispatch box where the Prime Minister stands in the House of Commons. It was bucket list awesome. I had a great Christmas. And then New Year's, I was in Nottingham, and I have a photo of me with Robin Hood, the statue, that is, and the oldest inn in England. Oh, it was really nice. It was really nice.
Well, I think you won.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done the family Christmas thing as well. I did that here in Germany last year. So that just means that next year you have to go on an adventure, you and Kelly.
That'd be fun. I'd be behind that. So occasionally this podcast does delve into the territory of talking about YouTube.
Do we have to talk about YouTube? I was kind of enjoying our cotton candy based discussions from the last episodes.
It's pretty good, but I do have to discuss a few things. First of all, congratulations, Will, on passing 50,000 subscriberinos.
Oh, hey, thank you, yeah.
You are a rocket ship to the moon that won't stop for nobody.
Yes, I just haven't actually figured out how to steer this thing yet, so we're just rocking into oblivion, but it's worth it. It's fun.
Well, it is January 20th, so if we're going to rocket into oblivion, we might as well do it today.
Oh, today is the day. Oh, my God. Anywho, congratulations to you, too. You crossed the big 15K subscribers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 15,000 subscribers I just hit a few days ago, and I feel pretty good about that. It's a little bit of a modest success when, with you and Patrick completely trouncing me in the last few months. But,
Good Lord, that guy is on a roll. Which I saw he published a video. We should watch that at some point. But
I actually did watch it. It's about Finland. It's good.
Okay. You also have been getting some attention, though, for your Well, not necessarily just for your growth, but just for your presence. And you were in some media over the holidays when we weren't looking. What other shows have you been appearing on while YouTubers United was on hiatus?
All right, so the few things have happened. I basically spent a week last week getting interviewed by a lot of local press about Step Back. I guess they found out about it through Kelly, my wife, who sent them emails or something. And in 1 week, I found myself being interviewed by 2 newspapers that are attached to the university I work for. Mm-hmm. And I ended up doing a little segment on like an AM radio station, like a news radio station.
Oh man, like I'm used to that being all Rush Limbaugh and conservative talk.
No, this one was more like, the local goings on and like fluff news. Like it was pretty fun. It was interesting because it was like it was a big commercial radio station. And it was interesting because I was talking about Step Back on the radio.
If we, can we put a link to that in the show notes? Is there a link that we can go to listen?
I'd have to find it. I'm not sure. I have to email the guy about it.
Well, check in the show notes if you're listening to this. And if you happen to see a link there, it's because through the power of the internet, to use Boogie's expression, we found a way to give you this experience.
So one of the articles in one of the newspapers came out, and I'm actually going to go to campus later today and try to grab 1 billion copies of this paper.
I read the article that was, what was the name of, forgive me, the name of the newspaper was The Western, correct?
It's just Western News. It's
Western
basically
News.
the news service that my university, which is nicknamed Western, publishes. It's basically news stories about researchers and faculty and stuff going on at the university.
And I noticed that in the article you spoke about growing and trying to really be a voice for history. What was the interview process like? Did they want to help you like get that voice? What was their objective in interviewing you?
Well, they thought it was just a cool thing that a Western student was doing. I think that they wanted to show off that there was somebody at their university who was doing something like this, and they thought it was kind of fun. So they invited me to their little office, which is like on the really, really far side of campus, and it was raining that day, and it was like rain and slush and ice, and it was just like the grossest weather imaginable. So I was there, I was miserable. They got me tea, and I just sat down, and he just put on a pocket recorder, and he just asked me about Step Back. It was great. He had like watched every video, and it was a surreal experience because he was a very friendly guy, and he just had me talking. And then the article comes out, and he makes me sound way smarter than I think I sounded in the interview, which just makes me very happy.
We're part of the corrupt media now, Tristan. Good job. That's exciting,
So
dude.
the
That's
failing
really nice.
Western News.
Yeah, on the verge of collapse.
On the verge of collapse. So Western News did that. They took some pictures. They asked for some of my graphics. And the most interesting thing, and this is like the advice I would give if you ever end up on a newspaper, is to speak in quotable short bursts.
Yeah.
So that, and if you're a moderately successful YouTuber, you might end up being picked up by like the local newspaper and whatnot. And if you don't, you should reach out to them because it's a useful thing. A lot of local papers will be interested in somebody who's doing something like this in their community. And if you can do it, it'll open up some opportunities. I've did the debate thing because people have heard of me through this and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time, man. How long is the video, or not the video, look, we're talking about YouTube, so I just assume everything's a video. There is no other media format. How did the story, is it been published yet, is the question I'm trying to spit out here.
Well, I mean, it's out on the internet, the internet version of their...
Right, I saw that, but has it been, like, printed, I guess is the other more logical question that I was trying to form 5 seconds.
Well, this is, they publish every Thursday, and I'm going to go to campus today and see if I can find them. Because it's kind of one of those newspapers, if you've ever been to university, that are always just, like, lying around everywhere.
Yeah, I remember the University Star at my alma mater.
Yeah, we got one run by students and one run by the university itself, and this is the one run by the university itself.
Oh, you have 2. Okay.
30,000 students.
We only had one. We had about 30,000. We needed two, but different system, different school. That's awesome that you had that opportunity, though. Congratulations.
I feel very blessed.
You kind of hit up some old media, so to speak, radio, newspaper. The only thing left for you then is television.
Well, I don't know if I have a face for television, but I'll never write it off. Remember how when I had my interview in Western News, I said in the article that I am doing this with a mission. I want to try to be a Neil deGrasse Tyson type figure for the historical profession. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that that legacy media is a good way to do that and to talk about how history is important.
Yeah. You just have to start wearing historical themed ties if you really want to pull off the Neil deGrasse Tyson thing.
Oh my.
You wear a tie with like Toussaint Louverture or something on it, and I don't know.
I'm more of a person who bristles at the idea of wearing ties, period.
Yeah. That old video, which we won't link to in the show notes, of you announcing some sort of a dinner party for the staff of your department. I don't recall you wearing a tie, even though you were wearing a dress shirt in that video.
Oh my goodness, how did you find that? That was back when I was humanities senator at my undergraduate school, and I was inviting people, and I made this jokey video.
I think
you should put that in the show notes. That was amazing. It was fun.
Yeah, we will. My wife was was asking about your YouTube stuff before she interviewed you, and so I was like, well, he's done this and this, and he had another channel, and she's like, what? And so we jumped down that rabbit hole. So yeah, I'm just gonna write that down to put on that Tristan video for the show notes for everybody. Good. Yeah, that's a funny one. Everybody should go check that out. Anything else new, man? How is the status? Like, how are you feeling as we roll into 2017? Are you working on a big project? What's going on?
Yes, actually, I can talk a little bit about this because by the time we air it, it won't be out, but it'll be soon to be coming out. And this is my first time doing a project where I did like a Lord of the Rings style 3 projects in one project type work. So I'm actually nearing the end of a process of making a video that is actually 3 videos. And it's going to be part of a 6-video collaboration series with another YouTube channel that should be coming out on the 24th, the first episode. So he's doing episode 1, I'm doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc.
Oh, spoiler, it's a guy. You're collaborating with another man.
Jeez. Anyways, that should be really fun, and I can't wait for it to come out. My first video in the series should come out on the 31st.
I happen to know who this other YouTuber is, and I think y'all are going to do a great job together. So I'm really looking forward to that.
But it's interesting that the 3 video projects have been put together. I have a couple pretty cool collaborations that I start the year with, and then I've been thinking about a lot of things because my little country is turning 150 this year.
Yeah.
And this is the 100. So like everyone's going crazy because it's the 150th anniversary. 1867 was the year of Canadian independence. And so there's I've been looking for a Canadian topic, and I finally found one, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, Canada, 150 years old. Tristan's gonna make a video about you. Okay, good. Glad to hear things are going well for you.
So let's talk about the imperial presidency, shall we? So you had to follow up. Let's set the stage for you. So Will and I were roughly at the same spot until this Berlin video, this video about Berlin and the Berlin Wall and everything. Mm-hmm. And then your channel exploded. That's how you passed 50,000 subscribers
more or less,
fast.
Yeah.
And so you were under a lot of pressure to follow that up. You know, you wanted your Spider-Man to be followed by a Spider-Man 2, not a Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. No Green Goblin. No Green Goblin.
No Green Goblin. You're the Green Goblin. So you came out with a new video basically earlier this week.
Mm-hmm.
And it was by far, I think, the longest video you've ever made.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it was an attempt to catch that lightning in a bottle. So can you tell us again how it was big treatise on the imperial presidency? So tell me, what's the behind the scenes story of this new video?
Yeah, this video has been, I would say, as far as video creation processes go, has been probably my most negative experience of making a video. So the researching stage and the writing stage just ended up running for a long time. And I ended up just letting myself go in terms of, well, I mean, I'm always eating a lot, so I'm letting myself go in that way. But what I mean is I let myself go in terms of writing. I just said it will be however long it turns out to be. So I didn't give myself this artificial constraint to stop typing. I just kind of let it flow, which resulted in a video that was really long, 26 minutes, longer than anything I've ever attempted before. Unfortunately, that kind of bled into the whole production and post-production process, and it really, really tied me down for way longer than I wanted. This video was supposed to come out in December, and it ended up coming out a month later in January. And it was behind schedule from the get-go, so the writing took forever. Then the animations there was more animating than I've ever done. I'm satisfied with the way that most of the animations turned out. However, even though it's more animation than I've ever done, because it's spread out over 26 minutes, it seems like there's not very much animation in the video, which is totally not true. There's a bunch. And yeah, it just because of the length of the video, once it actually was in 26 minutes, it just seemed to drag on. It just seemed, the writing seemed slow. Something didn't draw me in, something I wasn't satisfied with. It's hard to put my finger on it except for just saying that the narrative just went on too long. And to top it all off, the audio gave me hell. So I record in a room with my Blue Yeti mic, and you might hear it now a little bit. There's a bit of an echo in the background when I'm not being careful, and apparently I wasn't being very careful during this video because the audio had a bad echo. And when I put post-production compression and a little bit of bass and treble work on it, the echo just became overwhelmingly bad. And so I had to go ahead and just use my unedited audio, which was weak, which meant the music was weak, which meant that, you know, this 26-minute video that I'd been working on for so long ended up having some pretty mediocre audio. By the time it was all over, I was exhausted. The animation took forever, and it just physically and emotionally kind of broke me to get that video up. And the very last thing that just punched me in the face was on the very last night of editing, I went to add in a snow effect to my final scene, and I couldn't get the snow effect to work right. And it still doesn't look totally right in the scene, at least not the way that I wanted it to look. And it got to a point where I just said, unfortunately, this video has already taken me 10 weeks, so I'm going to upload it. It's just got to go up. And I feel good having done it. I feel good having pushed my limits and tried something new and did something bigger, and the animation was better than I've ever done, but I'm never doing anything like this again, at least not for a while. 26 minutes was just way, way, way too much.
All right, so there's a few things we can talk about there that makes this project a little unique.
Yeah.
Let's go through a little bit of a therapy session and see where we can find where things got astray and what we could fix and what kind of lessons we can learn. So first of all, let's talk about the length. So 26 minutes, I mean, it's not like that's undoable. There have been, most documentaries are 26 minutes or longer. So, it's not like this has never happened before. So I could think that there's two ways to go on this. The first might have been to split it.
Yeah.
A part 1 and a part 2 or something like that. And then the other one would have been to, think about what kind of changes you might need to do in a production project for something that's much longer than your typical video. So let's talk about both those options, because this is a fairly common problem that I think YouTubers could have, is that a project could end up being needing to be longer than they anticipated. So
yeah,
let's talk about splitting it up. Did you ever entertain that?
My wife pushed me to split it up, but my wife's pushed me to split up a lot of projects. So the Islam video, she pushed me to make that a two-parter, and I resisted. And I feel like that was the right decision to not split it up. I'm still split. I don't think that putting the video in two parts is the right decision even now. I think maybe just creating a shorter video would be a better option than splitting it up. For some reason, I'm viscerally... And by the way, before I go further, thank you to everyone for listening to me rant. We want to be authentic with you guys, and I'm genuinely frustrated with this whole situation. But yeah, I did think about it, but I just don't... I'm not convinced that people watch part twos of anything on YouTube. I'm not convinced that part twos are worthwhile because I'm not convinced that asking people to make that extra click pays off. I'm of the opinion that if you want someone to see it, you put it in the video, and that's it. Unless you have different stories to tell, you might be able to split up and make a series. But a series is different than just a two-part or a three-part video. What do you think?
I think that if you're going to do something like a multi-part video, like a part 1 and part 2, you do need to market the video and also design the video so that they both can work independent of each other as well as have complements. And I think that given the story that you were telling, there might have been a place in the script where you could have told two different stories. Like, I think that you could have made maybe a part 1 that was about the Andrew Jackson kind of pre-Civil War type stuff, or maybe up until the Civil War, and then you could have definitely told a very different part 2 that would have been about the imperial presidency, what everyone thinks about, which is the 20th century, the Roosevelt, the Eisenhower, the expansion of the presidency as America becomes a world superpower. But either way, I do respect that idea. I hope that, when part 5 of my ongoing series about people who discovered Columbus or discovered America before Columbus.
People who discovered Columbus.
Don't listen to that. People who discovered Columbus before Columbus. I hope that, I think that might have worked, because I think that you could have, I think that the 26-minute video could have worked. I just think that if you wanted to do that, it sounds like I actually didn't have that many complaints about the video whatsoever. I thought it was really good. But it sounds like it was a nightmare for you to do, which makes me move to the second one, which is that if you were to tackle a 26-minute video, what kind of changes do you think you would make to your process in order to make it easier on yourself next time?
Oh, that's one hell of a question. Well, I'd say step 1 is already have a concrete creation process before you endeavor to do something like this. So my creation process has always been in flux since I started my channel. It continues to be in flux. So taking on something much larger than I had ever attempted in the past was a mistake on those grounds, because I wasn't confident in my production schedule and I wasn't prepared then to adapt appropriately. So it ended up just creating a backlog and forcing me to stop my production, or not stop my production, but delay the upload, delay the publication. If I had to go back, I'd say number 1, I'd just shorten it. I wasn't totally satisfied with the writing once it was finished anyway. And if I ever want to tackle something of this length again, it will either be in 2 ways. Either number 1, I hire someone to help me, which I'm nowhere near doing right now. So that's not an option. Number 2 is make it something that I work on, and I think we've talked about this before, over time in the background. So have my normal projects and then take on a large project as an extra thing to work on when I have spare time. So there's no time constraints and no time pressures on it. The problem is that this video coincides with, we're recording this on the inauguration day. I kind of wanted to get it out before the presidential inauguration. And I thought it was going to be a month before the presidential inauguration, but at least a few days is what it ended up being. And those are the changes that I would make at this point, is don't even go there again for a while until I'm ready to really do an overhaul or bring in some help.
So you were on a time constraint because you wanted to talk about the imperial presidency before it became the presidential empire.
Yeah, exactly. Before the God Emperor took over, as one of the top commenters said.
And this is also your first video since you had a large spike in new subscribers how did that reflect in the reception of the video, in the metrics?
That part, I'm being really negative here, and I'm not frustrated with my fans. I'm not even frustrated with the view count. I'm actually quite happy with it. Generally speaking, when I talk about U.S. presidents, and especially 19th century U.S. presidents, people tend to tune out. So I don't expect a video like that to go viral. I'm not dissatisfied at all with my fans. In fact, I've gotten an overwhelming amount of positivity sent my way in the comment section. People noticed the hard work that went into it. I've gotten comments saying, I noticed you worked hard, good job. Even the people who complained a little bit about the audio were saying, the video sucks, but rather the video's really good and your audio should be good enough to where everyone can enjoy. So in that regard, I'm feeling pretty good. People have been very nice and very positive. I'm frustrated with myself right now, and I made my New Year's resolution time management, and part of that was on my mind as I was making that resolution. Part of I knew I was in the middle of this huge project that I had kind of bit off way more than I could chew when I made that resolution, and I'm really determined to get it fixed before the next video is published. Hopefully next month. We'll see.
I believe in you.
Yeah. Man. The other thing that I did that's good, I knew I was going to come in here and kind of rant, so I wanted to give some positivity, and that was one of them. That the subscribers the newly acquired subscribers that I have are super supportive, and I'm really happy to have them. The other positive thing is that as a Christmas present to myself, I bought a Wacom drawing tablet, Wacom, whatever it is, drawing tablet, and I use that to create some more detailed illustration, and I'm still learning it. I'm still doing something very sacrilegious, which is I'm using it and also the mouse simultaneously, which I know makes anyone who uses a Wacom tablet cringe. I'm learning to do it totally independently. In the meantime, it helped me create better drawings faster. So that was good. I feel more comfortable with After Effects than I ever have in my life because I've used it more than I ever have in my life in the last couple weeks. And in the end, I pushed myself. So the positive thing is now I know where the line is. And it's better to find this line now that I'm still totally amateur, not making any money or at least making pennies off of AdSense. It's better to do this mistake now than to make it in 6 months when maybe I have a sponsor or I have a bigger audience. So on those regards, it wasn't a total disaster. It really, really emotionally broke me down to sit and get that video finished. And that's all. And
now it's done.
It's done.
And you probably have an awesome next project to tee up and do, so.
Yeah, I guess got a book in the mail, so I'm gearing to go, and I'm happy to just be kind of sitting down and reading and not messing with a mouse for at least another week.
Sounds good. I have also made a few interesting changes to my art template. That's not going to happen until a couple videos from now, but it involves a lot of changing to the drawing and stuff under the hood, including a lot of more use of actual pen and paper.
Pen and paper?
Yeah.
Almost like, what's it, ASAP Science kind of pen and paper?
No, nothing like that. But as part of the iterative drawing process, I realized that I want my visual information on my videos to be a bit more interesting and a bit more elaborate than what I was doing. So I'm thinking of sitting down and thinking through each visual part of my video making or of each video, and thinking how I can draw something a little bit better.
Sketching and storyboarding, or sketching? Are you going to trace the things that you draw, or are you just going to storyboard and then draw it on the computer?
I'm going to sketch it and then trace it, trace the scan.
Okay, cool. I can recommend that. When I first started drawing those figures, my wife drew the figure, I traced it, and ever since then I've been just adapting that first trace basically into all the different characters that I've used. It's very nice for iterative. It's very nice to start off with something hand-drawn. It feels good. I think you'll enjoy that.
Yeah, I added a whole bunch of new stuff about how to use color properly, and I can get into it a little bit. Maybe we should, in a future video, once I have it more future podcast, once I have this more nailed down, I'm taking this course on Lynda about design, and I've been making a lot of changes, and once the course is finished and I have all of the changes that I want to make made. Maybe we can talk through art.
Great. Yeah, I'm always willing to learn as well. I have no idea. Everything I know, I've learned from scratch. If it looks bad, it's because I never learned any better.
Oh yeah, so, I never drew before this.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I mean, I think we can both be proud of. That's one of the things YouTubing does to you. It forces you to learn skills you never thought you would ever need, and I'm actually thankful for that. It's been great.
I should also mention, I don't know how to plug this anymore because it's came out and it's already got like 1 million views, but there's a new Vsauce video premiering I guess he got his own YouTube Red original series called Mindfield, and it looks really good. It's just it doesn't look $15 a month good.
Yeah,
but the first episode's free and it's so good.
Yeah, I saw the first maybe 5 minutes of it. I was in the middle of animating, or no, I wasn't. What was I doing? I was busy in some way. I missed it. I'll have to go check it out.
It's cool. It's Michael Stevens going through a little bit of self-imposed psychological torture.
Interesting. I bet you got paid really well to do that psychological torture.
It looks good. I think it's a really good job, and I'm kind of excited that YouTube is throwing some real money behind like the heavyweights.
Dude, me too. I was looking at that. Even in the 5 minutes I watched, and it was obvious that they were saying hello to Netflix. Like, that was obviously meant to compete with Netflix. Don't you?
Especially because Netflix also released a show this month called Down the Rabbit Hole or something like that, which is supposed to be like a spiritual sequel to Mythbusters, and it has all of the non-Mythbusters, like Carrie Bryan and Grant Imahara, and you know those people. Did you ever watch Mythbusters?
I do. Oh yeah.
So they gave those guys their own show that's basically the same type of thing, which is taking something about science or something off the internet and making a like cool video.
Dude, and the best part of that is that they don't have to do all the worst part about Mythbusters was always waiting for the actual thing to happen. Like, they would introduce a concept and then they would wait until the very last minute of the program to show it to you.
Because they had to get through like 3 more commercial breaks, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be nice with Netflix if there's that constraint that doesn't exist there.
Yeah, so I have to watch that. But then Vsauce, Michael Stevens, who is also doing a like cross-country science fair tour with Adam Savage.
Yeah.
I feel like there is something like they're looking at each other and they're glaring.
Yeah, they Michael is, I mean, if it wasn't already obvious, I think he's, for the kids, oh God, are we that old that we can say this now? For like people who are teenagers now or young adults, less than like preteens, I think they'll look at him the way that we look at Bill Nye.
Well, Michael Stevens, I believe, has ascended past the YouTube regular. Yeah. I think he's now officially just become a celebrity.
Yeah. I don't know if he's that mainstream necessarily, but I'm sure he will be in time. He's a talented guy, and he has a knack. He has a knack for knowing what people want to watch and what people want to see and what will make people kind of gasp or like will blow their mind a little bit. And that's really admirable because he does it while being genuinely educational.
You know who I feel bad for, though, in the whole Vsauce thing?
Who?
Kevin. Because you got, like, Michael Stevens, like, basically ascending to, like, mainstream popularity. Uh-huh. You have Jake Roper on Vsauce 3, who is sort of turning it into his own, like, vlogging empire. And then there's Kevin. There's poor Kevin in Vsauce 2, who I really like. He's, like, really, really, really good stuff, but he's kind of, he hasn't, I feel like Vsauce 1 is Will, and Vsauce 3 is Patrick. And
you're gonna go down that road, huh?
No, I didn't want to go that far, but subscribe to Vsauce 2. It's really good, and I hope it gets more attention.
Dude, it's just a matter of time. This whole thing is just a time game. You're making all the right moves to improve. You'll get there. I think Patrick's he's been on fire. Oh, I just cussed. He's been on fire recently. He's been doing really, really well. And that just goes to show when the algorithm likes one of your videos, the algorithm likes many of your videos. All hail the algorithm.
All hail the algorithm. That's why we're always doing so much stuff to figure out what it wants.
Yeah, we gotta sacrifice something to it, a lamb of some kind.
It's true. I already sacrificed something to Satan in one of the videos, so I don't.
Yeah, all of us did together. Apparently, Satan plays favorites, and if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, I'll put another link in the description. Soliloquy, one of his videos. Me and Tristan being we, and also Patrick from Name Explain and Soliloquy from the very famous channel Soliloquy. We all sacrificed some sort of animal in order to get more YouTube subscribers. So that went actually pretty well. I've seen definitely some tangible benefits, and I'm sure that all of my growth is directly related to that sacrifice and the blood on the fire.
So there's your actionable advice. Sacrifice things to the Dark Lord Satan.
No, to the YouTube algorithm now.
Oh, well, they might be the same thing. That's why it's called YouTube Red.
That's mysterious ways, Tristan. Anywho.
Satan works in mysterious ways.
I thought, well, I don't know, do we want a Q&A or do we want a Yuba space?
Let's talk about the YouTube space.
Okay, everybody, Tristan took a trip to the YouTube space in Toronto, and he would like to tell us all about it. Tristan, what did you see there?
So many things. All right. So first to mention that
best teaser ever.
So the first thing I should mention is that I did this like back in September. It's space. So the YouTube space, for those who are not initiated, is YouTube is running like a small network of studios that have professional equipment in them all around the world. There's ones in New York City and LA, you know, the typical places, but also there's one in, I think the closest one to you is in Berlin.
Yep.
There's one in London where our friends Jonathan and Inés were a few months ago as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one in Toronto because they finally remembered that Toronto exists. And it opened up earlier last year. And anybody who is a YouTube channel who has good standing, no strikes, and has over 10,000 subscribers can go. Uh-huh. And in September, I think, is when I passed 10,000 subscribers. And so I went to the space, which you had to go to for like initiation. Like they had to show you how everything works.
Of course, yeah.
Most people have to do just an online course, but because the YouTube space in Toronto is located on the campus of a community college, they had to do some like hands-on training. And it was fun. I realized just how small the YouTube EDU space is because I was the only educational YouTuber who was actually there. I went in and it was, you know, I was surrounded by very photogenic people who were either daily vloggers or beauty vloggers or something vloggers, you know, people dropping all sorts of vlogs about all sorts of things.
Right.
The most famous person who was there that I think I met is Molly Burke.
Uh-huh.
Whom I did not know about at the time. I didn't know that she was famous in any capacity until I came home, and then I realized that Inés said that she listened to her channel or watched her channel.
Uh-huh.
She's like a vlogger who is blind and kind of vlogs about life as a blind person.
Interesting. Wow.
Anyways, I went there. I signed up. We kind of were all herded into it. So the first thing I realized is that 10,000 subscribers in Toronto, not a big deal. There's a lot of people in Toronto who have 10,000 plus subscribers. I had probably one of the lowest subscriber counts in the entire group of people.
Wow.
Then we sat down. We did this like icebreaker game where we all were tossed around and asked us like, you know, what's your channel? How many subscribers you have? What's your channel about? Describe it in 3 words. And
not icebreakers, no.
Yeah. It was my last. I was last on the list. And I said that I had like, I think like 10,000 subscribers at the time. And that I did educational videos about history that were animated. And everyone was like, oh, okay. And then we watched a bunch of educationary videos where it was basically them talking to us with a PowerPoint presentation in the background, followed by a few just, YouTube videos that were introductions to the space that we just needed to know about. And then they took us on a short tour of the studio. And it's this really cool room where they change the furniture every few months. And it's really cool. It's really, really well designed. And if you want to go, you have to sign up months in advance. And I was just like, oh, this has nothing to do with me. Okay. And then we're opening up, and now it's open, a second studio that's a bit less designed. It's just kind of like a black, studio space. And it has a little whisper booth. And if I was closer to Toronto, which I'm not sure yet, but I might be before the end of the year, then I could go and do some recording of audio in an actual studio. Which would be nice. And, we hung out. There was a little reception afterwards with beer and some pretty tasty hors d'oeuvres. And I got to go out to a pub afterwards with a few of them. And it was all right. Unfortunately, none of the business cards I handed out, nor the ones that I got, ever amounted to any collaborations or any discussions. I make it sound like it was super awkward, but trust me, the awkwardness was all mine. I am not used to... It was interesting because it was just a room full of people who had wildly different types of channels. And I ended up having a conversation with a stunt person, a stunt man. And I was just like, how do I have a conversation with a stunt man? And the answer is really awkwardly.
How can you not have a conversation with a stunt man?
Well, I mean, he didn't have much time. He was just talking. I have his business card still on my desk somewhere. Because he was like, oh, yeah, collaboration. We should do one sometime. And I'm like, really?
Dude, you could like jump out of a helicopter or something and then somehow tie it up to history. I don't know. Genghis Khan might have jumped out of a helicopter.
I gotta like figure out. I don't know. I think if I'm going to break another barrier in YouTube space, I kind of have to do more live action stuff, which might involve going to the gym.
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage of the YouTube space is probably the studio space if you're doing any sort of camera work. But I guess you have made some audio upgrades, and so you don't necessarily need the YouTube space microphones unless you want to do something really, really polished all of a sudden. Like perfectly polished, because you'll get super high quality from the setup you've designed for yourself.
At least pretty good quality. If I live close enough to it, I might change my production method so that I line up a whole bunch of videos, and then I would go in and rent studio space, and then I would just do the audio for 6 or 7 videos at once.
Oh,
just so that I can get really high quality audio.
Yeah. That stresses me out just thinking about recording 6 or 7 videos in one sitting.
It sounds, you get 12 hours with the space and, water, and you could take breaks and everything. It's just that would end up with step back moving towards seasons.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to do right now, but if I live close to Toronto and I have access to really good equipment, might be something to consider. There's also a 360-degree camera that you can rent out. And I was thinking that there was some fun stuff you could do there because Toronto also has a really big museum that has a very not so good social media and YouTube presence. And I was thinking I could, if I lived close to Toronto, I could be like, hey, museum, let's do some stuff together because, let's be honest, you're not doing very well. I mean, I'm sure they're making tons of money, by people buying tickets, but their YouTube presence is, ugh.
Yeah. Okay, back to the YouTube space for just a second, though. How do you feel about the YouTube space in general? And I know that's probably maybe the first question to ask, not the last question to ask, but you've been there, you've talked to people there, you've seen the things they have to offer. How do you feel now that you've been there about them having them all over the world? Is it really for us? Is it to show how much they value YouTubers, or is that a profit center, or is that something else? Something in between?
I think it doesn't cost us anything. I think that it's a really good idea to put this network of studios. I think that it will result in a lot of better content. It's YouTube doing an investment in its creators. Having that 10,000 subscriber minimum shows that they're taking the channels that have, in one way or another, shown that they're taking this a bit more seriously than the average person. Okay. And saying, all right, we're going to give you access to all of this really expensive resources that we have in order to increase your production quality.
Yeah.
And then in doing so, you know, you'll end up having higher quality stuff on YouTube, which means more watch time, more ad revenue, more money for YouTube and for you. And so I think that in the long term, it's a really, really good idea. They also run monthly receptions, which is where they get all of the YouTubers who have about 1,000. I think it's 1,000 is the minimum you should have, or you have to have. So any YouTuber with over 1,000 subscribers can come to these like receptions, and they give you like a couple free drinks and some hors d'oeuvres, and you can talk to each other. And I think that that's really good for creating a YouTuber community in major urban centers, which I think is a really good idea that also fosters collaboration and creative growth. And so I imagine it's a good investment. I think that it'll be really helpful in places where YouTube has limited penetration, but could do some amazing things for underserved markets. Like I'm thinking of the one I think they're starting in Mumbai.
Oh.
I think that could be really useful.
Speaking of which, if you're listening to my voice right now and you heard Tristan say 10,000, 1,000 minimum, and you thought, oh, God, that's so many. First of all, you're going to get there, brother, sister, whatever. You're going to get there. Don't worry. But if you have any questions about how to get there, or if you'd like to get a channel review from us, send your question or your channel link to ytunitedpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit under YT United Podcast. Just type that into any preferred social media. You'll find us. Ask us your questions. We're not YouTube experts, but we are people. We are two growing YouTubers who are learning as we go and might be able to pass along some wisdom so that you too can one day use the YouTube space to make your production that much better. Tristan, anything else you wanted to mention about the YouTube space?
If you have the opportunity, like if you're close enough and you have the subscriber count, I would check it out.
I was thinking of going to the Berlin one again pretty soon, or not again, to go there for the first time pretty soon. I wanted to record there. I wanted to get something done just because I want to see it for myself. I can imagine that in the future spending a lot of time at a place like that. If it's a dedicated space with good audio, I can see myself really falling into that, using that, because in the end, renting a studio is expensive. And I don't necessarily need one right now, but I can see myself in the future if I have a more professional and more consistent production schedule that I could be in there once a month filming a video and making it really the best that it could be.
Yeah, the only hitch is that you do have to book like quite a bit in advance.
I guess it depends on the space. The one in Berlin was not that ridiculous. It was, you book a month in advance. I was able to hop on and see stuff. There were available appointments not that far away. So maybe it depends on the space as to how crowded and how many people and how long of the wait there is.
There's also priority for people who have 100,000 subscribers plus, which you will probably be at before the end of the year. So that won't be a problem. But then again, you'll be in America by then because you're only going to be around for another 6 months in Germany, right?
Yeah, just about 6 or 7 months. Well, yeah, 6 months now. Oh my God, the time. Yeah.
You're going right to the center of the Trumpire.
Yeah, I'm flying into the heart of the beast. It's going to be like going to Mordor. But unfortunately, if I drop the ring in, nothing good happens. We just have to wait 4 years.
When was the last time you've actually been to the United States?
It hasn't been that long. It's been just a little bit over a year now, 13 months.
Okay.
I was home last holidays for 2 or 3 weeks. So honestly, it's been about a year. It does feel like a long time now. I do miss home, and I'm nervous about going back, but I do feel the pull. And honestly, the events of today, I just had a push notification come up about Mr. Trump. He's still Mr. Trump for a couple more hours, about his movements, and it just makes me want to go home even more. I feel like I've kind of lost touch with back home, and something, I don't know, there's just a pull. It's time. So I'm looking forward to it, and I don't know if there's a YouTube space in DC. I assume there's not. So if I want to use a YouTube space, that probably means I'll have to go to New York if I'm in that area.
Who knows? If there isn't one, there should be, and soon.
Yeah. So we can do an election stream again for 2020.
So let's
live
hear.
from DC.
Yes. Oh, no problem. So let's talk a little bit about. We have a couple questions to wrap up before we.
We do. We have
leave
a
you
couple
guys.
cues to A.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got to listen. They probably have Radiolab coming up next in their players, so we got to get this out before the Radiolab.
We're so much more like this is a better narrative than you're ever going to get on Radiolab for sure.
Here.
It's such a good program. I love you, Radiolab. Anyway,
Beep boop beep boop beep boop. There we go. Now we're Radiolab. Okay.
you're listening to You're listening to WNYC. All that. Oh man, the editing kind of gets on my nerves at times, but I just love it. It's such a good show. Okay, Q number 1 to A. By the way, if you want to ask us a question, ytunitedpodcast@gmail.com. The first question comes from Dale, who is the creator over at ThinkFact, which you should go check out. He does science-based videos and a little bit of philosophy mixed in there. It's really, really cool. And I think one of his more recent projects was about, it was about a man with Down syndrome? Oh, God, I hope I got that right.
It was about a man with Down syndrome, but the idea behind it was that they were basically interviewing and talking about literally everything else in his life and not his disability.
Yeah, it was, which makes it ironic that that's how I started off with describing it. But it was a really good video. Go check it out. Go check out his channel, ThinkFact. He asks this question: with the rise of the new video sharing platforms like Facebook, do you think YouTubers should think about trying to build communities on multiple platforms as well? Do you think it could be a defense from some freebooting? And for those of you who don't know what freebooting is, it's when people take YouTube videos and upload them to other platforms without the original creator's permission. And he adds, also, should we feel like we owe it to YouTube to put them first as YouTubers? There's a lot to unpackage there. So let's start with the first question. Do you think that YouTubers should be on multiple platforms, or should they be focused on YouTube itself exclusively?
Okay, so I have a couple of thoughts on this. When it comes to financial compensation, when it comes to exposure, there's still nothing as good as YouTube. I can think of like Facebook's video service, which is okay to do, but also Facebook still like holds your viewers ransom and says pay us money so that everyone can see your video.
So backwards. So backwards.
Yeah, and I think they're playing around with the idea of doing some revenue sharing, but it still hasn't happened yet, so you'd still be doing it for free. Twitter has a video service as well, but also it's just, there's no revenue sharing yet. YouTube is the second largest search engine, not the biggest video search engine, the second biggest search engine. And has way more, as we just talked about with the space and everything, has done way more to create support structures and pathways for YouTubers or for people to make their content and get it out to people. I don't see anything that currently exists that is able to invest as much in their creators as YouTube does. The only places that I could see might be useful is something like Rumble, which is a website that buys people's YouTube content. Like you would upload a video and they would try to sell it to like news sites and stuff like that. That way it's very much just a monetary interaction for the most part. But when it comes to other video platforms, I could see there being a value in putting them on there for the sake of having a backup in case YouTube ever does something atrocious, becomes really user unfriendly. But at the moment, I don't see a really good competitor.
I feel like Facebook could be that competitor. Facebook is big enough. There's enough people that are almost exclusively getting their news from Facebook and their entertainment from Facebook now on the internet. It could be, but I guess they've decided no. They'd rather, like you said, hold viewers ransom and make you pay when I guess it's just my opinion. It seems like they would make more money if they introduced revenue sharing. Sure, they'd have to share the revenue, but then you'd have creators actually want to be on the platform. I guess they're afraid of opening themselves up to lawsuits. It's just frustrating. Because that is the only platform that's capable of competing right now.
Yeah, to talk a little bit about Facebook's video platform and why it is the way it is. So Facebook is always trying to get people to enjoy their timeline. And so it takes a lot of metrics based on what you interact with, what you like, what you share, what you comment on, things like that, and what you click on and what you read and your session time while reading those things. And so there's always shifting balances of what you see from what people. So, if you like a lot of things from one friend, you'll see a lot more stuff from them. And if you like stuff from one page, you'll see more stuff from them. And Facebook sees it as there's much less resources because video is not the only thing that they're putting through. And then what they add this ability for you to boost it. So you can tweak that number and just show up on people's feeds, even if they don't like your stuff that much.
By paying. And it's not a ton of money, but still it's just not a model that's going to compete with YouTube. Because YouTube has the biggest internet company behind it, the most powerful search engine on earth, and some really, really high-tech, the amount of things that Google's involved in dwarfs Facebook. Yeah. And
they're able to take all of that and point it to helping YouTube and YouTubers.
I have to say that with Facebook, all the YouTube gurus and social media gurus, they say, don't be on a social media platform unless you mean it. And I gotta be honest, I'm only on Facebook because I know that if my YouTube channel ever gets deleted, I at least have 100 followers on Facebook, so I don't have to start again at 0. And that's the only reason I'm there. And every time I upload a video onto Facebook, I instantly regret it because I know that, there's just no point in this moment in time, and it's frustrating. Twitter, I use in a legitimate way. I wasn't a big fan, but I like it now. At least I've warmed up to it a bit. But Facebook is just endlessly frustrating. The missed opportunities that they have there. Their goal, just like YouTube, is to keep you on their site the longest amount of time possible, and they're squandering that in some way. They've decided that the short-term financial benefit of freebooting and of forcing you to use a paywall and to use money to get your videos exposure is better than the long-term outlook of really bringing in and fostering a relationship with creators. It's annoying.
Yeah, Facebook, I don't know, Facebook is always going to be a really different platform. Everything is much less permanent and everything is fleeting and moves really fast. So the idea of YouTube video of something you make and it goes down and it lasts forever and people are watching it 10 years from now, that doesn't seem to exist on Facebook. No. And that's where I think it falls flat. But then again, they're for different purposes. So unless Facebook has a really big meeting about what they're going to do with their video platform and make some big changes, I just don't see it as good as an investment for YouTube. But if you do make content that is more or less, you're 100% happy with the copyright situation on your video, I would suggest uploading it to Rumble, because what Rumble will do is take your video and put it on some other platforms that are also monetized, like Yahoo Video and things like that. And they have a bunch of deals with these companies. And also, we'll pitch them to news websites and things like that, which could result in you getting a bit more money.
I'm sorry, did you say Yahoo?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
It's a Canadian thing, sorry.
It is a Canadian thing. That's the most Canadian thing you've said all day.
Pasta, Mario, Mazda.
Mario. Oh, I love you guys. To go back to Dale's question, he asked if we should be building communities on multiple platforms, and of course the answer is yes. So we just went on a huge rant about Facebook. Twitter is one of those that I would definitely use, and I've more recently been reconsidering Instagram because I actually do have one. So I think having as many hands as you can have in as many different cookie jars and vegetable gardens and what other food-based metaphors you can think of in terms of monetization and community can't hurt, because in the end, what Tristan said is right. YouTube is a fleeting thing, perhaps. We don't know. In terms of the internet, it seems like a steady rock, but YouTube's only been around for 12 years now. Not even. Just almost 12 years. 2005. So none of these things are necessarily permanent.
And also, it has yet to generate a quarterly profit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're totally right. So being able to move around is important. You mentioned Rumble. I'll mention another one that I tried briefly was vid.me. I was invited to join and upload my content, and I joined, but I never got around to uploading, and I don't actually know what's going on with VidMe at this point. I guess what I didn't see was what is it besides just a knockoff of YouTube? Well, if anybody's listening who happens to know the answer to that question, you can email us, ytunitedpodcast@gmail.com. It was an alternative. They were promoting themselves in Reddit comment sections as the alternative, but then they didn't market why they were the alternative other than YouTube sucks.
Well, there was also another one as well that came out a few years ago where you could actually have paid subscriptions to people. And I think that if you're going to make a legitimate competitor to YouTube, it'd be really difficult. I think that one thing we've learned is that the internet is not exactly a place that is friendly to competition. There's always going to be one that basically dominates everything. Because you can't just, set up your store in a different region. So,
Except
Facebook...
for travel sites.
Yeah, so Facebook was better than what was the last one called?
MySpace.
And MySpace just died instantly.
Yeah.
And YouTube beat out, Google Video, which I think was the only platform at the time that was doing something even like it.
I forgot all about Google Video.
And YouTube is here, and it's a giant corporation. I don't see... The only way that I could see YouTube being replaced with something is if something drastic like YouTube just going bankrupt happens. But it has one of the largest corporations in the world backing it. So I really highly doubt that's going to happen.
The second part of the question was, do you think it could be a defense from freebooting to be on multiple communities? I guess the answer is no. And then the last thing he asked was, should we feel like we owe YouTube something? Put YouTube first, as we are YouTubers. We've given ourselves this title. We upload to YouTube. We make our money, at least partially from YouTube. Should we feel some sort of obligation to the website that's basically allowed us to get our message out there?
So freebooting is an unfortunate reality of the YouTube market space, of the video market space. It's just the internet. It's a thing that's going to happen. The other one, discussing on should we feel loyal to YouTube, it depends upon what your position is. I mean, it's a mutually beneficial partnership. They're making money off you. You, for the first time really in our history, have the ability to build a platform and have an audience without a gatekeeper, which is very profound.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that I wouldn't so much say it's out of loyalty, but out of the fact that you two are benefiting a lot from each other. And I think that the website, while it does questionable things, you do both help each other out. And I don't think that that's loyalty, but if that equation ever changes, yeah, you should consider other options.
So I take a similar position. I have a special place in my heart for YouTube because it has gotten to me, and it's gotten me to where I am. It's allowed me to spread my message as best I can, and I'm really happy that the platform exists. But think of it this way. Think of YouTube like an employer. It's not a perfect metaphor because we're not Google employees, but think about the way that your first job gives you experience. And it doesn't mean that you have to stay with that employer forever. You're thankful for the work you did with them, but you might leave at some point, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're burning that bridge or that you didn't have a good time. Then the same could be true for YouTube. You appreciate them for what they are today. If the environment moves and you get a better offer from another company, to extend the metaphor, maybe you take it. And that's not to say that YouTube did anything wrong, or that you didn't grow with them, or they didn't give you a unique opportunity, but rather, people move on, things change. If you look at it that way, I think you can have it both ways. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can say, I really like YouTube. I love it for what it's given me and what I've been able to grow on the platform, but I'm not a permanent fixture there just because I'm having success there in 2017.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the best game in town. They're the only game in town.
Yeah, then that's the other thing. Yeah. Anything else on this topic? Thank you, Dale, for the question.
Yeah, subscribe to ThinkFact. I hear he's pretty cool.
Hey, yeah, I don't know if he's cool, but no, he seems really nice. I'd like to, if we're ever at a YouTube VidCon or something, we should say hello. Okay, next cue is, how can I be comfortable on camera? I don't actually know who asked this question. If you asked this question, thank you. Tristan?
Well, I think this is more of a question that you should start with. You actually do stuff on camera.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you've been on camera before, so you can give in your 2 cents. I don't feel comfortable on camera. I feel more comfortable on camera than I did. It's just like any other skill in life where you have to do it in front of a crowd. Recording something for a camera that eventually will be watched by people on the other side of a screen. It just feels weird at first. It feels so weird to have a camera there, and no matter how good you imagine it in your head, once you get in front of the camera, it's like deer in the headlights. At least for the first time, you're not articulate. You don't know where to put your eyes. You don't know how to smile. Yeah, it's things that I had to learn. I learned a lot from doing some hangouts with Christy Winters at the beginning of my YouTube time when I had like 10 to 100 subscribers or something. I learned, at least partially, that I need to look into the camera, imagine that it's actually a person, or imagine that it's a member of the audience and you're trying to teach the camera something. So looking at the camera when speaking and even looking at the camera when not speaking is super important. It makes you look engaged. It makes people listen. And then being expressive but not over-exaggerated is also super important, and smiling. So my wife incessantly told me after that first or second hangout with Christy that I needed to smile more because I looked angry. And so I've kind of tried to take that to heart. I don't know if I actually smiled in my last 26-minute video. I think it's because I was stressed out. But yeah, you will get more comfortable with time. It's a question of time, just like with any other skill in life. You just have to keep working at it. And eventually it becomes more or less, second nature, more comfortable than it was at the beginning.
Yeah, I'd compare it to listening to your own voice, which is another thing that was fairly difficult a while back, but now I do it so much that it's now kind of second nature. But I can't really think of building upon what you said. My experience with working with cameras is look at the camera, be expressive, smile. I don't really have any good advice. I don't do it enough, I don't think.
I had a problem. I had my worst experience on camera. It wasn't a bad experience, but I had a less than stellar experience on camera just a few days ago because my wife and I went up on top of a mountain, which you'll see, I guess, about Sunday when I upload my 50,000 subscriber thank you video. And it was damn cold on this mountain, and there were people on the mountain that were all hanging out near this World Heritage Site, which again you'll see in the video. And I guess the video will be out by the time this is published, so I'll put a link to that in the show notes if I think of it. But yeah, I was cold and there was an audience and it just wasn't working, and so I watched my own 50K subscriber video and I got the feeling that I was being disingenuous, and I was like, oh my god, I haven't felt this way about being on camera in a long time. So there are ups and downs, and it's just something you'll have to get used to. And with that video, once we got down, first of all, I'm not going to go back up the mountain to record it again. So, and second of all, I think my subscribers know that I love them, and that, I think people appreciate me for who I am. At least I hope so. And that, not one video where I seem a little awkward because I'm cold and there's people watching won't destroy my reputation with my audience.
Like William Shatner, you're not going to make love to the mountain?
No, I'm not. I wish I had a horse like he did in, what was it, Star Trek Generations, when he and Captain Picard hung out on horses.
In the Nexus.
Yeah. I wish I had that, because that mountain, it was snowy, and then the staircase was being reconstructed or something, and so Marie and I had to walk around in like deep snow, and it was wild. It was wild. And that doesn't come off in the video, but it was one hell of a adventure to get up there to get that video footage. So
William Fox is climbing a mountain. Why is he climbing a mountain?
yeah. We got up to maybe 3/4 of the way, and I literally had to stop. We were walking in this deep snow. My pant legs were wet, and I was out of breath. I'm a big guy, and I just was out of shape and out of breath, and I stopped, and I was like, this is what it's like to have a YouTube channel. I was being really dramatic, and I was like, it's climbing a mountain. I'm 3/4 of the way, and if I just push, then I'll get to my goals. And then, yeah, we made it up. My wife had to drag me, so if that's any sort of metaphor, then the next year on YouTube should be quite interesting.
Sometime we just need to have Kelly and Marie do one of the episodes and talk about how insufferable we all are for doing this.
Yes, and how we just never shut up about it. Yeah.
Yep. So, I guess we're going to call that a wrap for this week. If you guys are wanting to ask your own questions, or if you want to give us some feedback or submit your own channel to be reviewed by us, by a crack team of 2 guys who might know what they're talking about, you can email us at ytunitedpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to listen to more episodes, if you just came across this randomly, you can go to youtubersunited.net, go to YTUnited Podcast on Facebook, or the same thing on Twitter. You can also find us on YouTube. And so if you like to just subscribe to podcasts on YouTube, which is a thing some people do, you can find us there. It'll be fun. Woo. There's almost 40 subscribers on that.
Woo! Nah, dude, there's almost 50 subscribers on that.
Dang. I need that like air horn
moving on now,
thing.
Moving on up to the east side. There's lots of singing in this episode. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Bye.